The honourable member for Richmond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my understanding that I have up to 15 minutes to speak going into supply.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
It's carried, though. The motion is carried. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. I had to say that before you stood up.
No problem, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, it gives me pleasure this evening to speak on a matter which is always of great concern to the residents of Richmond County, and that is roads, which I'm sure that the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal will be well aware of. Speaker, we've certainly had a level of success in the last 2 years in being able to address some of the long-standing roads that needed repaving and resurfacing in Richmond County, but needless to say, there still remains a number of significant roads on that list. And today, rather than speak of the successes we've had, I want to take the opportunity to speak to the House and speak to the Minister about some of the roads that remain as a concern in Richmond County. And I'm sure I will not have time to name them all, but I will do my best to highlight some for the Minister and for his staff. Earlier today, Mr. Speaker, I had the opportunity to table a petition on behalf of the residents of Harbourview Crescent, which is in the community of Loosedale. Now, Harbourview Crescent is a road which is about half a mile long, I would say, which is right off of the main road when you come into Loosedale. I believe there's, I think the number I was given is close to 60 homes along this road, and I should point out that there's been a number of new homes which have been constructed on the road as well, bringing some young families back to our community and making significant investments. This road has not been paved since a long time ago. I believe some of the dates given was into the 60s and 70s, and over the years it's been patched, and then the patches were patched, and then those patches were patched again. So needless to say, the road is now at a point that's completely deteriorated and simply cannot be patched anymore. It needs to be resurfaced and needs to be new asphalt needs to be placed on that. And I'm certainly hoping that the Minister will hear the concerns. It's not often that residents of Richmond County sign petitions, but it's certainly an indication of how desperate they feel the situation has become on that road. And in the community of Loosedale, you also have Silver Oak Drive, which is a similar situation. It's off the main road just before the intersection to Grand Anse, and as well that this probably was paved last time Harbourview Crescent was paved, which was many years ago, and it as well is to the point that the road is pretty much completely deteriorated, and as well Duncan Road, which is another road off of the main road in Loosedale, which obviously needs to be addressed. Mr. Speaker, in previous years, I have to give credit to our area manager that we have in out of the Port Hawkesbury office that services Richmond and Southern Inverness, Mr. Darren Blunden, along with his operations supervisors, who've been very creative with the RIM funding that they receive. Now, what is RIM? RIM is an acronym for Rural Impact Mitigation, which was special funding that was brought in by the previous government, which was meant to assist some of the local area garages in dealing with graveling, brush cutting, minor repairs like that are so important to our rural communities throughout the province. With that RIM funding in our area, they were able to take and purchase asphalt and do a number of smaller side roads that are obviously not big enough to have a capital tender call for them, but certainly roads that have residents on them that need to be addressed. Unfortunately, as the Minister is aware, last year the Department of Transportation Infrastructure and Renewal reduced the funding to the RIM program by 50%. And this year that reduction has stayed in place, so it's a 50% reduction again this year, which basically means there will be no asphalt work at all in Richmond County this year because of the limited funding. So it makes it that much more of a challenge for some of these side roads, and I do hope that the Minister will look at the concerns I've raised. I will be meeting with some of his senior staff very shortly to once again go through some of the priorities and to discuss some of those, but hopefully there's a means of possibly putting a tender in place for the main road in Louisdale, which needs to be redone, and possibly add these side roads as part of that main tender. One of the other roads which the Minister will recall that I raised with him, in fact, he visited with me and came down to the wharf. Always good to get a Minister of Crown on a wharf to speak with fishermen, residents, and a local buyer that was there. And it's the Little Harbour Road in Lardwes. This is a gravel road. The question is, how do we get that gravel road paved? Because the situation has become even more dire for that road, because since the Minister last visited, the local buyer and processor has built a live lobster holding facility, which just during the construction phase had such an impact on the gravel road, making it almost impassable once the soft season kicked in, and meaning that there'll just be that much more traffic on this road. Now, I know that the department, to their credit, did put in a counter and came back and said this does not have the amount of traffic needed to justify under traditional rules for paving roads. If we use that approach, this road will never get paved, because it's a seasonal road. It's going to be during lobster and crab season that the heaviest traffic is. And I would again argue with the Minister that this needs to be looked at as an economic development tool for this community. If we use the traditional rules of it has to have this many cars to justify paving, that road will never get done. Let's accept that, because there will never be, that'll never meet that provincial standard. But I think the Minister himself saw the amount of activity that takes place. There are millions of dollars worth of seafood landed at that facility. That is all money that is taxed, that comes back to the coffers of the province, and for this community, that is the economic engine. So I do hope that the Minister is willing to look outside of the box when it comes to this road, to find a way to get asphalt on that road, to encourage development at Little Harbour Wharf, to encourage growth in that area, and to ensure that the residents, the fishermen, the workers have a decent road to travel on, because gravel simply will not be able to handle the heavy traffic that takes place on that road. I know that there's been some suggestion that chip seal might be a solution, but I know that even our local area manager and staff have questioned whether chip seal could handle the heavy traffic that travels on this road. During the height of lobster and crab season, there's numerous 18-wheelers that are driving on this road daily. So I'm not sure. I'm certainly not an engineer, but I would have to raise a question as well whether chip seal would be appropriate for this road because of the heavy traffic. But I do hope the Minister would be willing to look at that again. One of the other roads that I raised with the Minister briefly during the last session, but he did indicate he was aware of it, is the Grand Gully Road over in River Bourgeois. Now that is a gravel road as well, and the problem is right about the middle of the road, it comes to a point where you're driving right along the ocean, and I have to say it's one of the most beautiful areas in Richmond County, but the problem with it is that the road is almost at the same level as the ocean. And on the other side of the road, there's a bit of I'm not sure how you describe it. It's not really a pond, but it's a place where water gathers, and depending on the amount of rain, it's either going to be dry or it's going to be full. What happens is often, we saw it again this winter, is with high tide and with heavy rains, the road's completely flooded. And with the cold weather, it brought ice, it brought conditions which basically made the road impassable. For the locals, they know what to watch for. They know it's a dangerous area. But for anyone visiting or anyone coming to the area who wouldn't recognize it and that would hit that water, especially with a car, more than likely they would flood their engine or they'd have serious damage done to their vehicle, especially if there was ice in that area. The problem with that road, what we're being told by the engineers, is that the road bed has to be built up. It has to be built higher than the level of the ocean, and there has to be piping underneath that the water can freely flow underneath without impacting the road itself. That is going to require significant capital investment, which is beyond the budget of the local area manager. So it's going to take money either out of the Sydney office or out of the Halifax office to fix this problem. But it has to be fixed. The residents have been more than patient, but they're very frustrated, and they are continuing to ask when are they going to see a solution, because it's only a matter of time before there's going to be a serious accident at this location. So I know the minister has said he's aware of it. I do hope that either while the House is sitting or when it rises, he will take the opportunity again, and I want to extend the invitation for him to come visit in Richmond County so he can see these roads for himself, maybe talk to some of the residents as he did when he was in Little Lance the last time, when he was over in Little Harbour, and be able to hear their frustrations directly. Mr. Speaker, as well, that's some of the other roads I wanted to talk about are some of the ones that require capital funding, which basically means tenders for paving and resurfacing. We have the Whiteside Road, which is just across the street from the Straight Richmond Hospital. Again, another area that's seen a number of new homes go in. It's a paved road. It's been patched more times than I even want to think of, and it clearly needs to be resurfaced. There's tremendous opportunity there for growth in housing development, but that road clearly needs to be addressed. As well, the community of Dundee. Last year, I certainly want to commend the minister. There was a tender from the County Line Road coming through Black River right up to the Black River Bridge, which is a new bridge that was replaced a few years ago. So that section of road has been done. But when you leave that bridge and you head towards the Dundee Resort, heading up to St. George's Channel, the road is almost, let's say, it's basically impassable. It's in terrible condition. This is one of the most beautiful drives along the Bredor Lakes that we have in Richmond County, and the road is completely deteriorated. I'm certainly hoping this year that the minister will continue the work that was done on the road leading up to the Black River Bridge, and will continue the next section for 5 or 6 kilometers, which would take you in front of the Dundee Resort up to St. George's Channel, where it will meet the new pavement that was done, I believe, in 2007. So that entire section will have been repaved and will be a road that will be in great shape. One of the other roads that the minister will recall that I did raise with him is the Cape Ogat Road, which is a road off of the Low Road in Arishat, and which is where the Clearwater Live Lobster Holding Facility is located. I should add, Mr. Speaker, the largest live lobster holding facility in the world. This is a major employer for our community, and the road itself leading to that facility has become in completely deteriorated state. It follows right along the Arishat Harbour with a number of twists and turns, and I have to say, Mr. Speaker, residents are terrified whenever they meet some of the 18-wheelers coming in either to pick up lobster or to drop off lobster in some of these turns, because the road is so broken up, especially along the shoulder, that these trucks are finding themselves on the wrong side of the road in order to try to navigate. So it's certainly not a criticism of their driving, but it's a criticism of the condition of the road, and it's become a safety concern. It's not just the workers want to have a nice road to drive on. For local residents, especially parents with school-aged children, they are terrified that there's going to be a significant accident along this road because of the way the pavement has become broken up, some of the major potholes, and even some of the erosion that's taking place along that road. One of the other roads as well that someone reminded me recently, and that I know very well because I grew up on it, is the main road leading into Petit de Gras, which is known as the Stretch to Boudreville Road. This is the main road leading into the community. I believe last time it was paved was back in the 1970s. This clearly is another road as well that many people are complaining. There's a number of businesses located along this road. The ball field is along this road. The church is along this road, and it clearly needs to be addressed, and the only way to do so is going to be with new pave. Ending on a positive note, I do want to commend the minister for continuing the commitment to complete the upgrading and resurfacing of Route 4. I've heard tremendous comments on the work that was done, and I know many of us who travel to Cape Breton and those who travel further in Richmond County are very happy to see this road is finally becoming in a modern state. And I know that the minister is scheduled to call another tender this year, which will take the paving from Johnstown west towards St. Peter's, with the final section to be done in 2013-2014. So the minister made that commitment, and I'm certainly pleased to see that that commitment will be maintained. And I do hope that he has taken note of some of the many other roads that need to be addressed in Richmond County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.